mind is the commander, and we bow to it, and we do everything our selfish mind tells us to do, okay? That leads us just to so much confusion and unhappiness. When instead we devote our body and offer ourselves to our spiritual mentors, to the Buddhas, to the Bodhisattvas, then we will actively engage in doing what is their priority, and their priority is the welfare of all beings. Okay? So when we offer ourselves to the service of the Buddha, we will thereafter engage in doing actions that are for the welfare of others. And when we do that, we really begin to subdue our own self-centered attitude. Okay? So do you get what I'm saying? That when we become the servant of our self-centered attitude, we're miserable. When we offer ourselves as the servant to those who are engaged in virtue, then all the work we do in the process of serving our spiritual teachers, serving the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, all the virtuous actions we do are for the welfare of others. So we create a great deal of merit and positive potential. Plus, we are actively doing things that are beneficial to other beings. So we create more happiness in the world. When we do actions that benefit others and other beings are more happy, when they're happier, then we're going to have less problems, because instead of living with unhappy people, we're going to live in a society full of people who are more content and more happy. Okay? Do you get what I'm saying? Yeah? When we offer ourselves to serve the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, what we're basically saying is we are offering ourselves to do positive actions, to create virtue and positive potential, okay? We are offering ourselves with the intention of trying hard to generate love and compassion for all beings, and doing our actions motivated by that kind of love and compassion. Yeah? When we do that, then we create the causes of happiness, not the causes of suffering. Okay? So then, verse 9, being free from fear of mundane existence due to your protection, I shall serve sentient beings. I shall completely transcend my earlier vices, and henceforth I shall not commit negativities anymore. Okay? So when it says being free of the fear of mundane existence due to your protection, it doesn't mean that the Buddhas are going to make other people stop harming us. Okay? Because the Buddhas can't control other people. But the Buddhas protect us by teaching us the Dharma. So when we are under the protection of the Buddha, it means that from our side we are having an open mind, and we're listening to the Dharma teachings, and we're going to take them to heart, and we're going to try and practice them. Okay? If we do that, then every year when I come, you're not going to have the same problem to tell me. Okay? Because you'll have practiced the Dharma. By practicing the Dharma, your problem will have changed. Okay? So that's how the Dharma acts as our protector, by giving us the tools to change our lives. Okay? And so it's saying, yeah, I shall serve sentient beings. I shall completely transcend my earlier vices, such as all my self-centeredness and all the things that I've done motivated by my selfishness. Because if you think about it, all the negative karma we've ever created, we've created under the influence of self-centeredness. Okay? When we think, you know, when we study the karma chapter of the gradual path, and the Buddha describes you know, the 10 destructive actions, and these are described in the Pali Sutras as well. If you look at each of the 10 destructive actions, whenever we do them because we're under the influence of our own self-centeredness. Okay, take killing, okay? Whenever we kill any living being, we're caring more for ourselves than for them, aren't we? Yeah? Whenever we take something that hasn't been given to us, it's because our self-centered mind wants it. Okay? Whenever we have extramarital affairs or use our sexuality unwisely or unkindly, again, it's because of our selfish mind, just thinking about our own pleasure. Whenever we lie, it's because of the selfish mind, isn't it? Okay? How about when we talk behind people's back and create disharmony? Are we doing that out of love and compassion, or are we doing that out of self-centeredness? Self-centeredness. Whenever we create negative karma by harsh words, we're also under the influence of self-centeredness. Whenever we waste time in idle talk and gossip, also the influence of self-preoccupation, okay? Whenever we're involved in coveting or ill will or wrong views, we're always under the influence of the self-centered mind, okay? We never do any of these actions when we're really concerned about others, do we? Yeah, when we really cultivate love and compassion, do we talk bad about somebody behind their back? Yeah, when we cultivate patience and tolerance and acceptance, do we get angry and insult people? Okay? So by, you know, offering ourselves to the Buddhas, you know, and offering service to them, what we're really doing is saying, I'm putting my intention to act with love and compassion towards others, and not let my self-centered attitude run the show. Okay? So we're saying, I shall transcend my earlier vices. Okay? So all my bad habits, yeah, by practicing love and compassion, then I'm going to be able to overcome them. And then in the translation here it says, henceforth I shall sin no more. Okay, now I have to talk about this word sin. And Alan and Vesta made a big footnote about it, talking about why they use the word sin. However, I disagree with them, okay? I don't like the word sin at all, and I don't feel that it really describes the meaning of the Buddhist word, okay? Sin is a word that's used very often in Christianity, and it has a very negative connotation. And I don't want to bring that word into Buddhism because I don't think it, well, it definitely doesn't have the same connotation as in Christianity or in other religions, okay? Because, and I notice later on in the translation, they will say, I, the sinner, as if we are a sinner. But actually in Buddhism, the concept is very different. You know, in a religion like Christianity, we are born with original sin, okay? And so it's kind of like we're defective from the beginning. Whereas from a Buddhist perspective, the very nature of our mind is something pure. We are not defective from the beginning. Okay, we have the Buddha nature, we have the Buddha potential. It's clouded now by our negativities. It's clouded by our negative karma. We need to clear these clouds away from our mind stream. But our mind itself is pure, okay? And that's something very important to remember. And that's one of the reasons why I think instead of sin, it's more accurate to say negativity. Okay? Because we do negative actions, we commit negativities, but we are not negative people. Okay? We are not sinners. Yeah. And I think this is really, really important, because in Buddhism, we differentiate between the person and the action. Okay? A person may do negative actions, but that person is never an evil person. Okay? How can somebody who has the Buddha potential be an evil person? It's impossible. Okay? Somebody who has the nature of the Buddhas, who has the possibility of becoming a fully enlightened being, cannot be an inherently evil person. Yeah. There may be a person who's confused temporarily, and their actions may be negative, but the person is never negative. Okay? And this is very important, because what it means is we can never sign off somebody. We can never say, oh, that person's so negative, just kill him, get away, you know, get rid of him. Yeah, we can never ever do that, because that person has the Buddha nature. Okay? Even Adolf Hitler, Mao Zedong, Joseph Stalin, people who have killed millions of human beings, they still have the Buddha nature. We cannot say they are evil people. They did many, many mistaken actions, you know, and they're going to reap the karmic effect of their horrendous actions. But they are not evil people. Okay, this is very important. So whenever you're mad at somebody and you tend to label them, give them a label, realize that your label is not correct, because you have to separate the person from the action. The action can be bad, but the person is not bad. Okay, so whenever we swear and we call people names, okay, whenever we say somebody's a jerk, or they're an idiot, yeah, or they're beep, 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 okay, you know all the words that we call people. Whenever we give people these kinds of labels, we have to realize that we're the ones who are wrong when we're doing it. Because a person is not an idiot, a person is not a jerk, a person is not a beep, 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 okay? They may have done mistaken actions, but they are not a bad person. They are not an evil person. And every single person has the possibility to purify their negative actions, okay? Yesterday I was talking about my work with inmates, with prisoners, and this is one of the things that I really see with the inmates, okay? That they are not evil people. They may have done negative actions, but they are not evil people, and everybody can change. Everybody has that potential to change. Because you know what? As soon as we say about somebody else, they can never change because they're inherently evil, then that means the same thing applies to us. How are we ever going to get enlightened if we think we're inherently defective? Okay? If we have that negative view of ourselves, oh, I've committed so much negative karma, I'm such a horrible person. Yeah, if we think that way about ourselves, then we won't exert any energy to practice the path. And if we don't practice the path, we're never going to progress towards enlightenment. Okay, so that self-image that says, I'm a horrible person, that self-image is our real enemy. because we are not horrible people. We may have made mistakes in our life, but we are not horrible people. So in the same way, you know, we have to forgive ourselves and we have to forgive other people. So don't form an image of any person, yourself or others, saying, oh, they're just like this, that's the way it is. Because that's not true. Okay? Even the Buddha was once a samsaric being like us. Okay? Even the Buddha, yeah, was once a confused, miserable, sentient being like us. Yeah? The Buddha did all the same negative actions that we did before he became a Buddha. But the thing was, he realized it and he changed. Okay? Same with Kuan Yin. Before she became, you know, a Bodhisattva, a Buddha, she was an ordinary person like us, making many mistakes. But she realized it and started practicing the Dharma instead. So she stopped and she transformed. Okay? So if people like Kuan Yin and the Buddha can change, then certainly we can. Okay? If they once started off like us and changed, then we can also change. So it's really important to have that kind of confidence in ourselves and that kind of confidence in other people, so that we do see that people can change. Yeah. Sometimes it takes a lot of effort to change. But hey, we make a lot of effort for worldly activities, don't we? At least we should make some effort for Dharma activities, because they really bring good results. Okay, so now from verse 10, yeah, now we're going back to the offerings, and here we're specifically offering to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas a bathing house. Okay, so there's a lot of symbology about offering the Buddha a bath. Okay, we're not just, you know, turning on the hot water and giving him some palm olive soap and, you know, like that. Okay, but what we're doing is in this kind of offering where we offer bath, the Buddha is representing our own Buddha nature. Okay, and so when we offer bath to the Buddha, it's symbolizing cleansing our own Buddha nature from our ignorance, anger, and clinging attachment. It's symbolizing cleansing our Buddha nature from the negative karma of our mistaken actions. Okay? So although we're visualizing this very beautiful scene of offering a bath to the Buddha, really think that in the symbolic way that we're cleansing the nature of our own mind. So it's quite a beautiful visualization, okay? And sweetly fragrant bathing chambers whose beautiful pillars are radiant with jewels, glowing canopies made of pearls, and crystal floors transparent and sparkling. I bathe the Tathagatas and their children, the Bodhisattvas, with many vases studded with superb jewels and filled with pleasing, fragrant flowers and water, to the accompaniment of songs and instrumental music. I dry their bodies with scented, immaculate, exquisite cloths. Then I offer them beautifully colored and sweetly fragrant garments. I adorn Samantabhadra, Ajita, Manjughosha, Lokeshvara, and others with those divine, soft, delicate, and colorful raiments, and with the most precious of jewels. Okay, so these bodhisattvas that we cherish so much, Samantabhadra, okay, when we read the King of Prayers, the extraordinary aspiration of Samantabhadra, we get an idea of how this Bodhisattva thinks. Ajita refers to Maitreya, the next Buddha. Manjughosha is Manjushri, Wensupusa. And Lokeshvara is Kuan Yin. Okay? So we're offering to all these bodhisattvas and all the other bodhisattvas as well. Okay? With perfumes permeating 1,000 million worlds, I anoint the bodies of the lords of sages that are blazing with the luster of well-refined, rubbed, and polished gold. I worship the most glorious lords of sages with all wonderfully fragrant and pleasing blossoms, mandarava flowers, blue lotuses, and others, and with splendidly arranged garlands. I perfume them with enchanting clouds of incenses, having a pungent and pervasive aroma. I offer them feasts consisting of various foods and drinks. I offer them jeweled lamps mounted in rows on golden lotuses, and I scatter lovely drifts of blossoms on the floor, anointed with perfume. To those filled with love, I also offer brilliant multitudes of palaces, delightful with songs of praise, radiant with garlands of pearls and jewels, and ornamented at the entrances in 4 directions. I bring to mind the great sages' exquisitely beautiful jeweled parasols, perfectly raised with golden handles, lovely shapes, and inlaid pearls. Okay, so it's talking, doesn't this, when you're reading this, you know, and thinking about these images, doesn't it just make your mind happy? When you think of all these beautiful things and then imagine offering them to the Buddhas, yeah? Doesn't it make your mind happy? Instead of thinking about your problems all day, which makes your mind unhappy, yeah? You think about all these beautiful things and offer them. Yeah, there's something quite powerful in this kind of meditation. And there's something quite transformative, because very often in our life, whenever we think of beautiful things, who do we offer them to? Ourselves. Don't we? Oh, there's some good food. I'm gonna buy it and eat it. Yeah, we're walking past a store. Oh, what beautiful clothes. I think they'll fit me. I'm gonna buy them. Yeah. Oh, yeah, a nice bath. I'm gonna take a bath. Yeah. Oh, some entertainment, music or TV or movies. I'm gonna go see them. Okay? Do you see how in our ordinary life, whenever we see something that's attractive, we offer it to ourselves? Yeah? We're very self-centered, aren't we? Anything good, we want it for ourselves. Anything that's problematic, we give it to others. Okay, so we do practice generosity. You can have all the problems. Yeah? I'm giving you the opportunity to take out the garbage. I'm giving you the opportunity to clean the house. Yeah? So we give people all these opportunities. Yeah, we're so generous, aren't we? Yeah, I give you the opportunity to do the laundry. I give you the opportunity to work overtime. Okay, but for ourselves, to our self-centered mind, we give all the nice things. Yeah, the nice food, may I have it. Yeah, nice comfortable bed, may I have it. Nice beautiful house, I'll take it. Yeah, car, oh, I want that, it's suited for me. Yeah, good vacation, very good, I'll take that one too. Yeah, problems, you can have it. Yeah. So in this meditation here, what Shantideva is describing, we're completely changing that process, okay? And we're imagining beautiful things, and then we're offering them to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. And in the process of doing that, we rejoice and we feel good, and we're thinking of beauty, and we offer the beauty. And we realize that we don't have to possess something in order to enjoy it. Okay. Let me pause here for a minute and tell you the story of one of the inmates that I've worked with. This inmate, I've known him maybe since 1999. And he was serving a 20-year sentence in the US for being a drug dealer. And he was basically a millionaire, having gotten the money through selling drugs. You know, his family was poor. He wanted to make a lot of money, and selling drugs, he made a lot of money. He had several houses. I think he told me he had 11 cars. I mean, he was very, very rich, and he was partying, and he had really the high life, okay? And then he got arrested and sentenced to 20 years in prison. He changed a lot while he was in prison, and he began to realize that selling drugs was not a good career, okay? It was true, he had a good business mind, but selling drugs was not the way to use his business talents. And he began to think about his life, having so many cars and houses and going to parties all the time. And he realized that superficially it looked like he was having a good time, and it looked like he had a lot of friends. But actually, none of those friends were very good friends, because as soon as he got arrested, they were nowhere to be seen. They vanished, okay? And, but still, while he was in prison, you know, because when you serve such a long prison sentence, very often you dream about the day you're gonna get out, okay? And you dream about what you're gonna do when you go out on, you know, get out of prison, and what you wanna buy, and what you wanna, you know, have, and where you wanna go, and things like that. Because somehow thinking about that enables you to get through the very dreary days in the dangerous environment of a US prison. So this is how he completed his sentence. And he's been out now for not quite a year. And I talked to him before I left to come here to Singapore. And I saw him after he got out, when the Dalai Lama was teaching in Los Angeles. He came to the Dalai Lama's teachings. And I was very happy with that. And so when I talked to him before I came here, he was telling me, because now he's working in construction, yeah, helping to build things and putting drywall on walls and things like that. He doesn't have a lot of money now, but he was working some rich person was building a huge house, and he was working in that person's house. And during lunch, he sat out on the balcony of the house, and it had this incredible, beautiful view, he said. And he was sitting there eating his sandwich and just enjoying eating his sandwich, looking at the view. And he said he really saw at that moment that he didn't need to own such a big house in order to enjoy it. Yeah. And he really saw that you don't need to possess things in order to enjoy them. And I was thinking about it because, you know, I bet in some ways he had more happiness sitting on the patio of that house looking at the view than the owner of the house had. Because I bet you the owner of the house is so busy making money that they hardly have any time to stay at home and enjoy their beautiful house. Yeah, and I bet you when the owner is home, all they do is worry about all the things in the house that are broken. And how, oh, I don't like the color of this wall, I want it painted differently. Whereas, you know, my friend, he, not owning the house, he could go there and enjoy it, finish the job, leave there, never be at the house again, but having peace in his own heart, okay? So I think having that kind of peace and contentment in our own heart is much more, that comes much more from our attitude than it does from actually owning things. Yeah, because just look in your own life if all the things you own really give you pleasure, or if they just give you more things to take care of and more things to worry about. Mm-hmm. Okay, so this meditation practice here of making offerings to the Buddhas, we're enjoying all these beautiful things, and then we're offering, and we're imagining all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas being pleased by our offering. We're taking delight in being generous, and so our own mind is happy. We're creating positive potential through our practice of generosity. Okay. So let me read just a few more verses of these offerings. I bring to mind the great sages' exquisitely beautiful jeweled parasol, perfectly raised with golden handles, lovely shapes, and inlaid pearls. Thereafter may delightful clouds of offerings rise high, and clouds of instrumental music that enrapture all sentient beings. May showers of flowers, jewels, and the like continually fall on the images, reliquaries, and all the jewels of the sublime Dharma. Okay, so in that verse we're offering to the stupas, to all the images of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and to the sublime Dharma, to all the scriptures, to all the teachings. Just as Manjughosha and others, so the other Bodhisattvas, as they worship the jinas, so do I worship the Tathagatas, the protectors, together with their children. So even the Bodhisattvas, they would make offerings to the Buddhas and to other Bodhisattvas. Okay? When you read the King of Prayers, the extraordinary aspiration of the Bodhisattva Samantabhadra, you know, Samantabhadra is also making offerings to all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Okay, so it's not like the Bodhisattvas are just hanging out waiting for somebody to offer them some apples and oranges. Okay, the Bodhisattvas, they want to create a vast wealth of positive potentials. So the high-level Bodhisattvas, they emanate many, many bodies, and they go to many Pure Lands of many Buddhas, and they make offerings there to all the Buddhas. So this is the kind of practice that we're getting introduced to here. Okay? With hymns that are seas of melodies, I praise the oceans of virtues. May the clouds of harmonies of praise ascend to them in the same way. Okay, so here we're offering music and we're offering praise. Okay, now offering praise to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, this is really a transformation for us, because who do we usually offer praise to? Ourselves, don't we? Yeah. What do? We tell people all of our good qualities, Yeah, we go for a job interview. You would think we were the Buddha when we go for a job interview. We have so many talents, okay? We just make up these talents, make up these skills. Yeah, when we meet some person and we want them to like us, then we present ourselves so well with so many talents, praise ourselves. Yeah, when we write out our business cards, we put all these titles after them so that other people will know how important we are, you know? We love to be praised ourselves, okay? But here we're transforming all of that. We're giving up the wish for praise, and instead we're looking at the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, who are the beings who actually have wonderful qualities and are worthy of praise, and we're praising them. And we're feeling happy about praising them. And the thing is that the more that we can see the good qualities in others, the more we make ourselves receptive to generating those same good qualities ourselves. Whereas the more we criticize others, the more we develop negative qualities ourselves of criticizing, backbiting, gossiping, speaking harshly and rudely. Okay? So when we criticize others, we're harming ourselves. When we praise those who are worthy of praise, we are benefiting ourselves. This is completely the opposite way to how ego usually thinks. Okay? Because ego usually thinks praise, send it this way. Yeah, me, I'll take all the praise. Criticism, we already know it's your fault. The criticism goes to you. Okay, that's just our usual silly way of thinking. Okay, here we're working to transform it. Okay, so let's pause here and have some time for questions and answers. There's still a few questions from last night. Some of you may have questions from this evening. Please feel free to write them down and the ushers will collect them. Let me start with the ones from last night. So if the world should come to an end, is there no more chance to be reborn as a human in the next life? Okay, our Earth, our planet Earth, is one small, tiny little piece in this whole wide universe. There's many other human realms in different places in the universe. So even you know, because everything is impermanent, one day this planet will end. Even when that happens, we will be able to have precious human lives in other planets, in other places. But speaking here about the world and taking care of the world, I very seldom go to the movies. I only go to documentaries, basically. And so somebody offered the Abbey residents, they took us to see this movie called An Inconvenient Truth. Do people in Singapore, do you know about this? It's a film by Al Gore. He was the one who won the election the first time when he was running against George Bush, but because of the American policy, Bush got the presidency because he had the electoral votes. Anyway, Al Gore has been very interested in ecology and in preserving the environment. And he made this movie, a documentary called An Inconvenient Truth. And I really encourage you to see it because it talks about global warming. And it talks about the danger to our planet that we human beings are contributing to through the way that we use materials. okay, through the burning of fossil fuels, through not recycling, and, you know, so many things that we're doing, we are actually endangering our own lives here because we're changing the climate through us human beings living on it. When the climate changes, everything's going to change, okay? Especially Singapore, you should be concerned about this because you're an island surrounded by water. If the glaciers and the ice packs at the North Pole and South Pole melt, the oceans are going to rise. What's going to happen to Singapore? Okay? So this documentary is very well done, and it's really showing us a lot of things that we can do to take care of the environment. And I believe as a Buddhist community, this is a very important issue for us. Okay? We talk about love and compassion, but we have to put our love and compassion into practical action. Okay, and take care of our planet, because if we, you know, misuse our environment, then what kind of planet are we leaving for the children and grandchildren and future generations? Okay, if we say that we cherish sentient beings, then we need to cherish the environment that we all live in. Okay. And you'll notice every time I come to Singapore, I always encourage people to recycle. And whenever I'm at places, you know, I'll save my little yogurt cartons, I'll save my paper, and I'll say to the Singaporeans I'm with, where do I recycle it? And they all look at me and go, oh, just put it in the garbage. You know, because if we continue doing this, what's happening to the world's resources? Okay, and how is this contributing to global warming and climatic change? Okay, what are we leaving for future generations on this world if we don't recycle the resources that we enjoy? Okay, it's really very, very important. Yeah. Now, lots of people may think, well, you know, in 100 years when we have those problems, I won't be here. Well, what about if you have a precious human life back on this planet? Yeah, you might be here. Okay, and even if you aren't here, future generations will be. So we really need to take care of our environment. And I really encourage you. And you know what? I bet you can make money doing it. Now everybody's interested. Okay, I said the word money. Everybody's very excited. Make money, make money. You know, I bet there's a lot of new industries that can begin through recycling and through thinking about how to use the world's resources in a better way. So I really encourage the Buddhist community to, we have an expression, to walk your talk, okay? So we talk about love and compassion, we should walk it, okay? So next year, there should be recycling centers. And I think Buddhist temples should really take the lead. Wouldn't that be wonderful? What an incredible contribution if Buddhist temples took the lead, and instead of throwing away so much styrofoam and so much plastic, if the temples started recycling, you know, or started washing things instead of just throwing them out. This would be an incredible contribution. How do we see emptiness in daily situations? Okay, so if you want to see the nature of reality in daily situations, okay, be aware of how things arise dependently. okay? Because the more we are aware of dependent arising, the more we'll understand that things are empty of independent existence. So if we look at the building here that we're in and realize that it arose dependent on its parts, dependent on its causes, dependent on our mind labeling it, Taipei Buddhist Center, yeah, if we see things as dependent, then we can see that they lack their own intrinsic nature, that they depend on causes, depend on parts, depend on the mind that conceives and labels them. So as you're going through your daily life, you know, look at things in this way. Train your mind to see things in this way, okay? Another way to start to think about emptiness in your daily life is when you are upset, stop and ask yourself, who's upset? And then your mind usually says, I'm upset. And you say, who's upset? I'm upset. Well, wait a minute, who's upset? Who is this I who's upset? Okay? Really, who is it? Look for that I that's upset. See if you can isolate something that is inherently you that is upset. Okay? And if you can't find it, then stop being upset, because there's no solid person there to be upset. Okay, will sterilization of animals create unwholesome karma? I think it depends on the reason why you are sterilizing animals and what your motivation is, okay? If there are, let's say in a neighborhood, too many dogs and too many cats, and you need some control of the number of animals in a neighborhood, and so you take them to be spayed or neutered so that to control the number of animals, and you're doing it, you know, for the sake of the animals so that there's not overpopulation of animals, I think that that is, you know, you're doing it with a reasonable motivation, trying to benefit others, yeah? And that's very different than just sterilizing for the sake of doing it, okay? So we all know that the Dalai Lama is an enlightened holy master, but how come he still can't give up the attachment of wanting Tibet to be free and independent? How do you know that the Dalai Lama is experiencing attachment, and that attachment is his motivation for wanting Tibet to be free? How do you know that attachment's what's motivating him? Yeah, do you think maybe he has compassion for the Tibetans and for the Chinese? Yeah, that he wants the whole area to live in peace and harmony, and that seeing that a free Tibet could contribute to that and could contribute to the existence of the Buddha Dharma. You know, every time we want something, it doesn't mean we're attached to it. Sometimes people have this misconception, yeah, and it comes because often we mistranslate. There's one word, and sometimes we translate it as desire, and sometimes we translate the same word as attachment, okay? And there's confusion if we translate it as desire, because in English, the word desire, we can speak of good desires and non-productive desires, okay? So when we're attached to something, when we're clinging to something out of self-centeredness, that's the kind of attachment that causes difficulties that we want to give up. But when we desire something wholesome, when we desire to practice the Dharma, when we desire for sentient beings to be happy, when we desire for people to be free and to live in peace, those kind of desires are not necessarily attachment. Okay? They could be desires that we have because of genuine love and compassion for people. Now, if we go about killing others in order to gain freedom, then maybe our wish for freedom has attachment, okay? Because killing others in the name of freedom, I don't think is very wise. But, the Tibetans and the Dalai Lama in particular are advocating nonviolence, and nobody's getting hurt in that, in their wish to be free. So don't think that every time, there's a wish for something or a desire, that it means that there's attachment. Because otherwise, people generate the wrong idea that Buddhists are just like bumps on the log, that you don't have any ambition. You just sit there and go, duh. I have no attachment. It's all okay. Duh. That's not true at all. In fact, because, a bodhisattva has no attachment, therefore, they have a lot of compassion, they have so much motivation. Bodhisattvas are very busy people. They're not just sitting there going, duh, all the time. They're working for the benefit of sentient beings. They have lots to do. Okay? So. Oh, lots of questions. My goodness. I might say, because I don't know if I'll get through all these questions, that if you read Buddhism for Beginners, or read any of my books, you might also find answers to your questions. Let's see what we have here. Okay, so somebody's saying here that their relative is not evil by nature, but they have undergone 2 abortions due to certain circumstances at that point of time. So what can I do to help or advise her in order for her negative karma to be lessened? You have to be very tactful and very careful in this kind of situation. And, wait until the person is ready to hear it. And chances are they feel very bad about having an abortion themselves. I think most people, in the case of unwanted pregnancy, would prefer not to have an abortion, but they have abortions due to the circumstances. And so purification definitely needs to be done. It is an act of killing. But I think it's good in society if we can find other ways to handle cases where there's unwanted pregnancy. And so to encourage people to have the children and to give them up for adoption. My younger sister is adopted. And I was very, very glad that her mother, her birth mother, had her so that my family was able to adopt her. Because I always wanted a sister, and I just had a brother. So now I have a brother and a sister. Okay, so I think there are alternatives to abortion that, if society were to encourage these alternatives, then people would not feel in such dire straits when there was an unwanted pregnancy. And I think also to encourage birth control. I think when people are sexually active, they have to be sexually responsible. And if you don't want children, then you have to use birth control. You know, and if you don't use birth control, then be prepared to have a kid, because that's what happens. Duh. Okay. Okay, unhealthy people can become healthy in their next life. What about mentally ill people? Can they have a healthy mind in their next life? Sure. You know, in the next life, different karma could ripen, and they could, you know, be free of mental illness. Okay, so they're asking if people with mental illness can practice meditation. So especially if somebody has a history of depression or panic attack, can they practice meditation? I think it depends on the individual, and it depends on their Dharma teacher, okay? So I think it is suitable for people who have some mental health concerns to practice meditation under the guidance of a teacher. So you should always, you know, a person with that kind of difficulty should be under the guidance of a good spiritual teacher, and they should follow their teacher's instructions. If they don't want to do meditation, they can also do other spiritual practices like bowing or making offerings or chanting. Things like this can be very good for purifying negative karma as well. But it was interesting, every winter at Sravasti Abbey, we close the Abbey to visitors, and we have a 3-month meditation retreat. And there was a man who came last year, and he had panic attacks. I didn't know about this before he came to the retreat, and I only found out about it during the retreat when he started talking about having panic attacks. But it was very interesting because through the retreat, he learned to watch his mind, and he began to see how what he was thinking contributed to the panic attacks. And so by the end of the retreat, when he felt a panic attack coming, instead of having certain thoughts, he would let go of those thoughts and switch his mind to taking refuge or thinking about love and compassion. And he began to realize that he could control the panic attacks by not letting his mind follow the same old thoughts. Okay? Similar with depression, sometimes people need to take medication, but meditation can also help them with depression, because sometimes the meditation helps them to see that their own thoughts are part of the cause of the depression, and then to let go of certain thoughts and not hang on to them. And when you do that, then the depression can also cease. So, but it's good to always be in consultation with a qualified spiritual mentor when you're doing that, if you have a history of mental difficulties. Okay, and so they're saying if I continue to avoid creating bad karma, create plenty of good karma, and practice metta meditation in this lifetime, will I be born without any mental illness in my next lifetime, so that I can practice meditation and gain enlightenment? Why not? Yeah? If you create a lot of positive potential, and I think especially doing metta meditation, is very wonderful and very soothing for the mind. Metta meditation is meditation on love and compassion. You know, for those of you who are picking up the brochures about the Abbey and, you know, and ask us to do prayers, and in return we ask you to contemplate the 4 immeasurables, you know, then by doing this you create a lot of good karma. And yes, it definitely creates the cause to be free of mental difficulties and mental illness in a future life. Okay, so if killing is a negative action, and what is the karmic effect of someone who has killed, like some of the inmates that I'm talking about? Well, it's horrible karma. Yeah? I mean, killing other living beings creates cause to be born in the hell realms, and even if we're born as human beings, to have a lot of illness, to live in a place where there's war, to you know, have a short life. So some of the people that the inmates that I've worked with, they have created this karma. But some of them are also very earnestly practicing to purify that karma. Remember, I was just mentioning that the Abbey has 3 months of meditation every winter. Well, we tell other people, and this is for inmates and also other people like you, that they can do the retreat from afar by doing 1 session of the practice every day during the time that all of us at the Abbey are in retreat. So even though the retreatants at the Abbey, we're doing 6 sessions a day. You know, the people who have their work and their life and everything, you do 1 session a day. But in that way, you're participating in the retreat, and you feel the support, and you feel the support of the people at the Abbey. You feel involved in supporting the people at the Abbey. So in the last 2 years, you know, when the Abbey's done that, we've had many inmates who have participated in the retreat from afar. So last year, actually, when we were doing Vajrasattva retreat, which is especially for purifying negative karma, we had over 70 people worldwide participating in the retreat from afar by doing at least 1 meditation session at home. And 20 of those 70 people were inmates. Yeah, and the inmates, they would write to us and tell us about how their meditation sessions were going. And it was wonderful because it kept the people at the Abbey from complaining, okay? Because, you know, sometimes when you're on retreat, you get so sensitive and you go, oh, this other person in the retreat hall, when they move their prayer beads, they're making too much noise and it's disturbing me. You know, they complain about all sorts of silly things. Well, when we would get the letters from the inmates, and the inmate would be saying, well, I'm in a dorm room with 300 other men, and I'm doing my meditation on the top bunk, and there's a light bulb 3 feet away from my head. And all of a sudden, the people at the Abbey would go, wow, do we have good conditions for doing retreat? You know, because here's somebody trying to do their retreat in a room with 300 other people talking, screaming, singing. Yeah, and yet the inmates, I mean, they put out incredible effort to do their practice. You know, prison is not a quiet environment. It's very noisy. And they would do their practice no matter how much noise there was. It was incredible. Yeah. So the people at the Abbey found it very inspiring to receive the letters from the inmates. And also from the other people who did the retreat from afar, because it really made everybody very encouraged. Okay, so somebody's saying, you have said that we are fortunate to be born in our land of plenty, while our fellow human beings are suffering in Africa. Shouldn't they be happy to suffer? Because without the ripening of the seed of bad karma, there will be no bliss, right? Wrong. Okay? This is the way we think when we experience suffering. When we experience suffering, we say, it's the ripening of our negative karma, and I'm very happy that negative karma is ripening, because now I'm finishing with it. But when we see other people suffering, we don't say, you should be happy to suffer because your negative karma is suffering. And you know what? I'll cause you a little bit extra suffering to purify your negative karma. That is not the way to think. Okay? So when other people are suffering, we react with compassion. When we have problems, we rejoice that our negative karma is ripening. Okay? Okay, so somebody's asking about the bird flu, and is the virus a sentient being? Usually viruses are not sentient beings, or they're not considered sentient beings. And so, what's the karma of killing all of these birds, and do we have to face the consequences? Yep. You know, if we take the lives of others, then we face the consequences of taking the lives of others. If you're ever in a situation where, you know, killing is going on, try not to do it, try not to support it. If you can't do that, then at least regret it. Okay, so we have to stop now. Let's just, I put my glasses away too soon. Let's just read out loud the verses that we covered. Okay, so we'll go, verse 7 to verse 23. And while we're reading it, really meditate, contemplate along with what the words say, and visualize all these things and make these offerings in your mind to all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Devoid of merit and destitute, I have nothing else to offer. Therefore may the protectors whose concerns are for the welfare of others accept this by their own power for my sake. I completely offer my entire self to the Jinas and their children. O Supreme Beings, accept me. I reverently devote myself to your service. Being free from fear of mundane existence, due to your protection, I shall serve sentient beings. I shall completely transcend my earlier vices, and henceforth I shall sin no more. In sweetly fragrant bathing chambers, whose beautiful pillars are radiant with jewels, glowing canopies made of pearls, and crystal floors transparent and sparkling, I bathe the Tathagatas and their children with many vases studded with superb jewels and filled with the pleasing fragrant flowers and water, to the accompaniment of songs and instrumental music. I dry their bodies with scented, immaculate, exquisite cloths. Then I offer them beautifully colored and sweetly fragrant garments. I adorn Samantabhadra, Ajita, Manjughosha, Lokeshvara, and others with those divine, soft, delicate, and colorful raiments, and with the most precious of jewels. With perfumes permeating 1,000,000,000 worlds, I anoint the bodies of the lords of sages that are blazing with the luster of well-refined, rubbed, and polished gold. I worship the most glorious lords of sages with all wonderfully fragrant and pleasing blossoms, mandarava flowers, blue lotuses, and others, and with splendidly arranged garlands. I perfume them with enchanting clouds of incenses, having a pungent aroma. I offer them feasts consisting of various foods and drinks. I offer them jeweled lamps mounted in rows on golden lotuses, and I scatter lovely drifts of blossoms on the floor anointed with perfume. To those filled with love, I also offer brilliant multitudes of palaces, delightful with songs of praise, radiant with garlands of pearls and jewels, and ornamented at the entrances in 4 directions. I bring to mind the great sages' exquisitely beautiful jeweled parasols, perfectly raised with golden handles, lovely shapes, and inlaid pearls. Thereafter, may delightful clouds of offerings rise high, and clouds of instrumental music that enrapture all sentient beings. May showers of flowers, jewels, and the like continually fall on the images, reliques, and all the jewels of the sublime Dharma. Just as Manjughosha and others worship the jinas, so do I worship the Tathagatas, the protectors, together with their children. With hymns that are seas of melodies, I praise the oceans of virtues. May the clouds of harmonies of praise ascend to them in the same way. Okay, so let's sit quietly for a minute and absorb the teachings. Due to this merit, may we soon attain the enlightened state of Guru Buddha, that we may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious Bodhi mind, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore.